Welcome to the MVP podcast, where we talk about anything NBA. I'm Sam Holcroft, and alongside Geigh Zelikofer and Payton Thompson. Before we begin, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Momentum MVP, follow our Facebook page at MVP Momentum Podcast, and check us out on YouTube at MVP Momentum Podcast. So today we're going to do our third edition of our stock market update. So we're going to talk about the teams, how they did, what we're selling, what we're buying, and what we might be holding off on. So as per usual, I'll talk about the top gainers. The Hornets were the top gainer at $6.04, followed by the Blazers at $4.20, Bucks $4.06, Lakers $3.98, and the Jazz $3.45. Other teams that gained money were the Cavaliers, the Suns, the Kings, the Pelicans, the Grizzlies, the Nets, the Timberwolves, the Magic, and the Clippers. Our biggest losers, the 76ers lost $9.78 a share, the Rockets $5.93, Heat $4.17, Spurs $3.44, and the Thunder $3.31. Other teams that lost money were the Nuggets, the Celtics, the Mavericks, the Pacers, the Bulls, the Knicks, the Warriors, the Hawks, the Raptors, and the Wizards and the Pistons. So then, bringing it to us, I gained for the last 2 weeks $284.11, which brings my total yearly earnings to $339.80. Geigh gained $105.11 the last 2 weeks, bringing his total gained to $819.50. And then PT lost $142.21, bringing the yearly losses to $282.26. So before we start talking about teams, PT, what's going on?
PT's he's gonna go broke. We're gonna have to continue the series like by All-Star break without PT.
Nah, no biggie. It's pretty early still. Nothing's really going on. I think it's just a funky formula. So I'm just kind of trying to figure it out still.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, if you look at the strategies, I mean, PT, after the changes that we've made, you're going to have 18 or 16 teams with shares, whereas Geigh and I have 5 and 7, which doesn't necessarily mean like that's benefiting us or not. It's just like, especially like, I mean, you guys both had a lot of Pacer stock these last few weeks, and if I remember correctly, let me hop on this. The Pacers, I mean, they gained money 2 weeks ago, but then they lost money this week. So like they're pretty stagnant. But like just like putting all your shares in like big teams like that could be very beneficial. It could also hurt you. For example, I had like 25 shares on the Bucks from the preseason, and they were the top gainer that first week, so helped out get a lot of money. But so who wants to go first on talking about teams that they sold?
I go first. I sold every other team that I didn't think was gonna hit their expectation. Okay, there's two things to like the formula basically. You have to pick a team that you think is going to perform better than their expected win percentage, but you also have to pick a team that is not expected to increase their expected win percentage. Meaning you want a team that wins by a little bit and loses by a lot, because that's the expected win percentage formula. It's like a fraction. It's pretty simple. So, to me, the Pacers, I think they're kind of out of their kind of easier schedule. So like I don't see them hitting. Like it's kind of a tough call to give the Pacers. Like I think where are the Pacers at right now for the 0.59? Do I think they're going to go 0.59 the next couple weeks, or do I think they're going to get blown out to where it doesn't really matter that they lose a few games? So these were teams that like I don't see getting blown out, and also teams I don't see winning. Because that's so. With the Nuggets, I don't see the Nuggets ever getting really blown out, but I see the Nuggets winning, sure, but I think their expected win percentage is going to keep climbing, which just doesn't seem like it just doesn't seem worth the risk right now. Nets, yeah, Nets, same thing, 0.59. It's kind of ridiculous. There's no way they they keep that up for the next couple weeks. Rockets way too high. The Clippers way too high right now. But what that signifies with that expected win percentage is the higher it is, the more you are barely winning games and getting blown out. Or no, the lower it is. The lower it is the more you are winning games but still getting blown out. If that makes sense. So with the people I added, I'm a Laker fan, but the Lakers always find ways to get blown out. Like I don't know, they just get destroyed somehow, but they can still win games. And so, what's the result of that? The result is that their expected win percentage is lower than usual, and as long as the Lakers stay above 500, it's easy money. So I'm betting that the Lakers are staying 500. For the Mavericks basically the same deal, a little bit higher. I like the Mavericks, and they have an easy schedule coming up. So I expect the Mavericks. I might only hang on to them for a week because if they start blowing out teams, their expected win percentage is going to go up. I think Mavericks are the type of team because they score both. If you watch a Mavericks game, you're going to see a very high scoring game between both the opponent and the Mavericks, and so the expected win percentage I don't expect to change that much just because it kind of weighs out with these high numbers. And it'd be a cool stat if someone could find like out of which team has experienced the most like highest points, in their games. And I bet you the Mavericks would be up there somewhere. So to recap, the Mavericks are kind of a team where I don't expect their expected winning percentage to rise that much, just because the scoring is so high. And for the Lakers, I just think that they're gonna be very offsetting with how they win. They're gonna win barely, and then they're gonna get blown out by hundreds of points just because. But they're gonna still have a good record by winning barely.
Interesting. For me, I kind of dumbed down the formula to what teams do I see getting better or at least keeping the same rhythm and momentum going into the second half of the season. I mean, I know we're not even through the first half yet, but at this point of the season, getting better, kind of hitting their stride. And that was the Lakers. Mavericks so-so. But I mean, as far as the Rockets, I guess you could say the same thing about the Magic. I think the Magic have been playing very well. Yeah, but I think the Nets are going to keep their consistency. I think kind of like the same way that Geigh is explaining the formula. I think there's games where the Nets are going to win, very slim marginally, but there is going to be games where they get blown out where they're off or there's an injury or whatever. And then with the Rockets just can't seem to win on the road, and we've had two really long road stretches, and then we're going to come back home, play a lot of home games in December and January. So I thought it was a good time to capitalize on that low, I guess current stock price. As far as my sells, I pretty much was like, what teams do I think are either going to cool off or am I kind of out on? I think the out on is more just so the Warriors. I'm just not really convinced the Warriors are going to be consistent enough to have stock worth. And the Pacers is more so like Gage was saying. I think they're going to cool off. Their schedule is getting a little bit harder. And I don't need 24 shares of the Pacers, honestly. I think 14 is enough. The Thunder and the Celtics, I think they're really good teams, but I don't think they're going to be the Celtics more so than the Thunder. I don't think the Thunder are going to be top three in the West all season. I think they could, but I think they're going to hit some kind of wall pretty soon here, and they're going to regress to the mean, which is about the 4 through 6 seed, probably closer to the 4. But yeah, and then the Celtics, I think sometimes, I mean, they started really hot in the season, but I think now they're kind of starting to cool off a little bit. Obviously, they're still a real contender in the East, and you got to take them seriously every game. But I think sometimes they just kind of have off games where they don't really look like the same team, and Porzingis is hurt as well, and we know how that goes. That could be anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months, and obviously they're going to want to keep him healthy throughout the season. So, yeah, I didn't really want to invest in them either.
Gotcha. So I kind of like looked at the expected win percentage like you guys did, and I kind of did what both of you did, but also I had my own twist on it. So looked at the expected win percentage. Are they going to be better these next 2 weeks or not? And if they are, then get some. But another thing that I was looking at is whether or not they are in the in-season tournament. So we're having the quarterfinals start tonight and go also tomorrow. And also, if they win, then they will play in the semifinal and the finals. I don't remember if those games count towards your regular season
They do.
record.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that could be pretty important. So if you look at the teams that I sold, um, starting off with the Suns, I sold 10 of the 15 shares that I had in the Suns. I don't remember who they're. I think they're playing the Lakers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not 100% confident that they can beat the Lakers. And also, I'm not a huge fan of their also regular season schedule along with that. A lot of question marks with them, and they've been really kind of like a wishy-washy team so far this year, in my opinion. I sold all 5 shares that I had in the Pelicans and the Kings, and they play each other tonight, actually. And I also am not a huge fan of either of their schedules as well. I went out on the Celtics, same reason that PT did, but they're also in the end season tournament. And then I also got rid of 10 shares of the Magic. I think that they've probably hit about their peak. I could still see them being a decent team. Like this is very much one of those up and coming teams that could be like sneak their way into like a 5, 6, or even 7 seed. But I just think that they might have peaked out with that 9-win streak that they had. Now, looking at teams that I did add 2 teams that are in that in-season tournament. I added 5 more of the Bucks and 5 more of the Lakers. Now, what I am kind of hoping is that they lose their first game, and then they can win their other consolation game that they would get, and also I do like their regular season schedules. I think they're pretty beneficial. I think the Bucks do play the Magic twice and so a few other kind of like I think maybe even the Knicks, which shouldn't be slept on, but the Bucks are a better team. Um, I got the Mavericks just like you guys did. Don't need to repeat anything. We're all on the same page there. And I did get 11 shares of the Nuggets. I think them not being in that in-season bracket can benefit them because I don't remember who they drew to play, but I think that it's a very beneficial game for them. There are 2 games that they got, and I just really like their schedule. I sold last update all 10 of my shares of the Nuggets, and I'm just buying back 11 now. And then I had some money left over, so why not get the cheapest stock possible at $8.47? 3 shares of the Detroit Pistons. Because if they lose $2 a share next week, oh well, I lost $6. I can spare that.
Mm-hmm.
So one interesting thing actually about this formula, uh, um, these expected win percentages, by the law of large numbers, are expected to lock in. Meaning the first half of the season, basically what we're chasing is this kind of like we're chasing this kind of like, we're playing around with numbers like, oh, you get blown out a lot, then your expected win percentage is going to be like really low, and if you win barely, then you're going to have a low winning percentage. You're going to have the perfect storm to invest in that team. But as the season progresses, what the formula does is it eventually locks in what your expected win percentage is towards the end of the season. And then that's when it becomes like you don't have to worry so much about that expected win percentage fluctuating so much.
Mm-hmm.
So then it becomes a challenge like, okay, who's going to actually beat this assigned expected win percentage? Rather than playing the cards of like, trying to figure out where expected win percentage is going to fly. I'd imagine like the last 3 weeks of the season, that thing is once the expected win percentage will only change by like
A
5%, a few
Yeah.
percents, and then it'll be a game of just predicting that 2 weeks, which is kind of interesting. So we're in a weird period, but eventually we'll transition out of it.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure the Bucks win percentage after the first 2 weeks was like a .386, and they're at a .602 right now.
Mm.
But like if we fast forward into like 2 months, 2.5 months, basically what that expected win percentage is, I don't expect to move like all too much. Uh, so it's definitely more volatile right now, but the later we get, that expected win percentage is not going to be moving as much, regardless whether they go 7-0 or 0-7 in those 2 weeks either.
Yeah, so it'll be a different kind of strategy. So basically, take what you can from this, but then eventually you're going to want to lock into who is going to outperform for the last final weeks, given what they've done all season.
Mm-hmm.
Something to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess that's all that I really need to talk about. Any teams that are kind of surprising that none of us are in on right now? Timberwolves. Well,
Yeah.
what's holding us back? That's only at 27.
The win percentage.
It's
That's
too
high
high.
mark. That's too high.
Yeah.
See, and something. Go ahead, P.
I was gonna say that, and I think they're gonna regress a little bit, just like the Thunder as well.
Yeah. So my biggest thing is, and we've kind of noted this. Let me get back over here. So the best record in the NBA takes account into this. And I've said on the previous podcast that having the highest win percentage won't help you make as much money as if you were second best. So, for example, I think I played around with this. So they're 15-4 right now. If I changed this to 14-5, their stock price went up 16 cents because they are not the best record in the NBA. So it gets really interesting because you want to have someone who will make you a lot of money, but if they have the best record in the NBA, then it's not as beneficial.
Yeah, they get capped.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe losing a few games could be beneficial for this Wolves team just so they are a little bit further away from that best record. But also went 6-1 the last 2 weeks. That win percentage, I think, was at like a .68 2 weeks ago. So if you would have bought some, you still would have gained $1.50 a share. But it's kind of just interesting with how that's.
We're gonna lose out on money on the Timberwolves if they suddenly start getting blown out. But I don't think that's
Yeah.
the thing about the Timberwolves. I think they're gonna lose some games, but I don't think they're gonna get blown out so that their expected win percentage goes lower. I don't think so. I think they're gonna lose a lot more games than their expected win percentage is gonna drop. I made that bet with the Spurs because like the Spurs were
Yeah.
at like .28, but then they ended like basically losing every game, and so
Yeah.
they have a good expected win percentage.
They started getting blown out and not winning a game.
Basically,
Mhm.
it's like the key is to get blown out, but you have to still win games.
Yes, you still have
Yeah.
to win enough games to get above that expected win percentage.
Yeah, or you don't get any of it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I invested in the Nets. I feel like the Nets are a good example of a team that, I think certain games they're just not going to be able to compete with some of the better teams in the NBA, or even if it's a team that catches them off on an off night like the Clippers, or maybe even the Magic or the Rockets, and they're just not really expecting it. That could definitely happen. But they're also, when they're on, they're talented enough to get those wins. So whereas their win percentage isn't going to drop. So. They're expected. So I think that's kind of a good example of like why I went into the Nets.
Another team I kind of want to bring up for an opposite reason, just because their expected win percentage is so low. But I want to talk about the Chicago Bulls for a second. Their expected win percentage is .308. So if they go 2-6 in these next 2 weeks, they could essentially make some money. But with the team like DeRozan, Vooch, and Levine, you can expect that, right? But they are just so bad this year. I mean,
Yeah.
they have a 33% win percentage as of right now at 7-14. That's a team that I wanted to invest in, but I look at their schedule and I'm like, I don't like that, you know. And even looking at the wins, like because when I do this, I count how many for sure wins are they going to get, and then I'm going to give like if they can maybe win this game, I give like a 0.5. If I don't think that they can win, then I give it like a 0.2. And the Bulls every time still fall short of their expected wins, in my opinion. And I'm just like, I can't invest in this. I can't trust them to beat a team.
Yeah.
Like if they're matched up with the Pistons, I'm still giving them a 0.5. I don't know if I can give them a 1 win on that.
Right. Exactly. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. They just can't be trusted. I don't want anything to do with the Bulls because you don't really know what you're getting ever. Like I think a lot of the teams that we're selling and buying, like we have a pretty good idea of what they are. The Bulls are probably one of the more mysterious teams in the NBA where, they could trade their assets tomorrow or they could go on a 3-game winning streak and then they could regress back to where they were at. You just don't really know what you're getting. So yeah, that's why I don't really want anything to do with the Bulls in general.
Yeah, but if they keep losing, that win percentage is gonna go lower, eventually.
It might
So
not.
then eventually you'll buy.
I mean, once it gets to a 0.25,
Oh, yeah, it might not.
They might just have a 3-game win streak randomly because they are talented enough to do it. That's the conundrum we have.
Yeah, that's the scary part because they might not, because basically if you win like 4 games straight, but each of those games you won by like let's say you won by like 50, you won one game, blow them out by 50 points, but then you lost by like 1 point on the other one, then it just kind of, the formula gets a little wonky.
Yeah, your expected win percentage goes from a 30 to like a 36. And,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
They just can't be trusted.
Yeah. See, I think maybe next year what I'll do is I'll add another column right here, and it's like the change in expected win percentage. So then we can kind of see that.
Yeah, you should
I don't have to just refer back to the videos to see.
Yeah, right. You can actually post the wins, right? It'd be interesting to show the formula like right next to, because it's like you can simplify it, because basically on the website they simplify it and they say it's the amount of points that you scored and over the amount of points plus the amount of points you score that were scored on you. It's just a simple fraction. It's just absolute, like it's like a probability. And so what they do actually is they multiply everything by 6. I don't know why 6. Ask the guy. I don't know. But they multiply everything by 6, and that's what you get. And by the law of large numbers, it'll converge to some sort of weird expected win percentage.
Weird projection.
Which is, it's a weird projection, which, has no significant like basis, but really what it's supposed to do is snuff out the frauds. Basically, if you have a low expected win percentage, you're likely a fraud. That's bad to say, but like a low expected win percentage and a high actual game winning percentage, you're a fraud. Mm-hmm. Don't bet on them, actually. Don't bet them in the playoffs, actually. This is helping us learn who not to bet on.
Right. I have one more thing to ask you guys about, and it's I don't really want to compare this into like the contrast of the stock market. I kind of just want to know what you guys think. I mean, because they are a kind of polarizing team right now. What do you think about the Clippers right now, and what do you think about where they're going throughout the season, where peaks and valleys, things like that?
Without the context of the stock market, because I get the stock market, we avoided Bill because yes, it's 0.619 because they're good. They have the tools, but do you want to bet them going more than 0.619? I don't know. I don't know what their peak is. With the context of the Clippers in general, I think they're starting to figure out Kawhi has kind of regressed to playing more defense. Therefore, his like counting stats have been reduced. But, this is the Kawhi of late. So I think Kawhi is deferring the offense a little bit more to James Harden. Mm-hmm. Paul George has had kind of his own days. He's been able to be the guy, even though you would hope that Harden would be your main like scoring punch. It's just been Paul George. But I think once Harden settles in and they can reliably trust Harden as that floor general scorer, then I think you're going to see a lot more defensively, a defense from PG and Kawhi, things that they're familiar in that realm. That's why they teamed up in the first place.
Give me
So
give me a seed where you see them ending at in the West.
I think they're going to have ups and downs. They're going to be real weird, but I'm going to put them around like 5.
5. Okay. I
Yeah.
would agree with everything you said. I think 5 might be a little bit too high for me unless there's one or two of those younger teams that nosedive. Like I think it would take one of the two of the Thunder or the Timberwolves to go down to like a 6 or 7 seed, which could very well happen. And then it would take probably one of the veteran teams like the Nuggets, Suns, Kings to also go down to like a 6 or a 7. I think I'm about there though. I think if I had to put a number on it, I'd probably say 6, maybe 7. But anything lower or higher, I think is exceeding or going below expectations.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're going to be a strong 5. I'm saying that it's going to be like a really tight one-game race here, and
Yeah,
like Clippers owned a tiebreaker over I don't know some random team, and
right.
they just kind of get there to the 5th.
Okay. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I'm expecting that that 4 through, yeah, was it 4? Yeah, it was 4 through like 7 seeds, just like last year in the West, to be all within like 2 or 3 games, like it was
Mm-hmm.
last year. Like if the Clippers would have lost one more game, they would have been the 7th seed fighting in the play-in against the Wolves, and the Lakers would have been the 5 seed or something like that. Because like the Suns, Clippers, Warriors, and Lakers were all within a game of each other, and that was just 4 through. Yeah, I guess that was 4 through 7. So I could definitely see the Clippers being up there, but it's just like the more they play together, the more confident I feel that they can just keep climbing. Like it was a rough start, but I mean it was a rough start with Russ too. Like
Mm-hmm.
we've seen this story play out before. You add someone who is such a big name. Like there's 4 future Hall of Famers playing on that team right now. Like some of them could be a little past their prime or declining. Um, you could say that they are not one of them are playing their best season that they've ever played right now. You could maybe say that none of them are even playing in their top 3 right now,
I don't know about that. Paul George is playing pretty wild.
but not
I
as much
wouldn't
as
say
that
top
MVP
3
season.
though. Yeah, I
I
wouldn't
mean,
say. Yeah, because he's
so
had one better season with the Thunder and probably 2 better with the Pacers.
yeah,
It'd be
so
close though. It'd be like
it
3 or 4.
yeah, that's why I said maybe, because you don't know. But I do feel like that once this team can get rolling, like I'm not saying that they'll have a 10 to 15 game win streak, but if you heard the Clippers like right now and I said Clippers are going to have a 12-game win streak later this year, you could probably shake your head and say, "Yeah, I probably believe it."
Yeah,
Because you
that's
know how
true.
good this team can be. It's
Yeah,
just, are they? Because they're
I don't know.
not. Individually, they're not playing like it.
I just feel like James Harden, PG, those players tend to have inconsistencies in their game, which don't allow 12-game winning streaks. There's just they're great, but there's some nights they just drop the ball so hard that it's like they kind of disappeared. Kawhi, I could see Kawhi being able to string that, but PG and they're just way too volatile to be able to pull off a 12-game win streak this late in their careers.
I think I think a part of that is true, but I don't think you necessarily need all of them to be on the same. I don't think you need all of them to be on their game if they're going to have a streak. Like I think if you have at least 2 of those guys that are having a good night, and then one of them is just having like an okay so night, whether that's Westbrook or Harden, or I don't know, Westbrook or Kawhi or whoever. I think they could do it. Now, if all of them are firing on all cylinders, I expect a blowout against any team in the NBA.
Yeah. So yeah. But to answer your question, where do I expect the Clippers to be? I expect them to be a 4 seed.
4 seed.
I do think that there are some teams that could fall off. I don't expect the Wolves to keep having the success that they do. I do think that they are definitely a playoff team this year. Um, I just Rockets are just a little too young. Thunder,
Yeah.
they still have talent. They're still a little young. So I think when it comes down to it, like maybe now if we're talking about in series, totally different conversation. But I feel like regular season wise, I think that the Clippers can climb them. Pelicans still iffy on.
Yeah. What
Grizzlies.
about the big three? Call it Suns, Mavericks, and Nuggets. Would that probably be the three you had ahead?
Suns, Mavericks, Nuggets. Yeah. Although I will say, I'm not. They have Jokic, but I'm not too keen on the support cast on the Nuggets. So, but I mean, they have Jokic, so like that, that cancels it out.
I
think if
think they
Jamal
have one of the
Murray,
best eight lineups in the league,
I
like
think if
eight
Jamal
man.
Murray is
Okay,
healthy,
who's five,
they'll be
six,
good.
7, 8?
What?
Who's please?
KCP?
He's 4. He's in the top 4.
He's in top 4.
Plays most
Then
minutes.
Top 4. Okay, so then it would
On the
be
team.
Aaron Gordon. It'd be Aaron Gordon.
Aaron
then.
Gordon. Let me see who's on this. Who's the
It'd
top?
be Reggie Jackson, Zeke
Reggie's
Naji,
Great.
Christian Braun. DeAndre Jordan can give you 15 minutes.
I don't know about DeAndre Jordan.
He just
what
had
gets
like
you.
20 and 18 the other day against the
Yeah,
Clippers.
I like Christian Braun. I like Reggie.
Yeah,
I think
he's good.
Jokic just makes them so much better, but that's why they're okay with running this very short lineup. DeAndre Jordan, I'm
I'm not saying he's good, but I'm saying he can give you 15 minutes of decent play. Let me look at their here, see if I can.
Yeah, I'm just
see
not 100% sold on a Christian Braun because like if we were comparing the Nuggets to the Clippers, the top 3 you could say for each team, Jokic, Murray, KCP,
I'd
probably.
probably say Michael Porter Jr.
Michael MPJ.
MPJ, yeah. And then you got Kawhi, Russ, or not Kawhi, Harden, and PG. Then the next 3 you got Aaron Gordon, KCP, and then I guess Reggie, and then you have Norman Powell, Russ, and Zubac. I feel like that's fairly comparable.
Can Zubac defend like that? Like, can he defend Jokic? I don't know. Jokic seems to be like if you
Maybe
you can't
within
really
like 3 feet of the basket, but anything further than that, I'm not all too confident.
Yeah, you probably have to stick Kawhi. You probably have to stick Kawhi on Jamal. Honestly, that's how dangerous Jamal is. Like I would just stick PG or Kawhi, just because such a dangerous weapon. Like
Nah, I just let Harden go at it.
no,
I
don't
think
let
if
Harden.
you compare,
Joke.
I think if you compare the top 3, it's tough, man, because we can all agree Jokic is better than Kawhi, right? Because that's the Clippers' best player. We would agree on.
Yep.
Consistently.
Yeah.
But Paul George is probably better than Jamal Murray. Probably.
Yeah, sure.
At least he's more versatile. He's a lot taller. He's a lot longer. He can defend better.
Yeah.
And
Hits
then
game
the
winners.
third player, huh?
I said he hits game winners like he did against the Warriors.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, not in the playoffs, but. And then you got James Harden and MPJ, and James Harden's probably a better player overall. So it's like you have a draw, a win, and a win. So it's like I don't know. And both benches are, I would say, probably average in the NBA. I don't think either bench is that particularly great. But so yeah, it's kind of tough. And I will say the Nuggets are a lot more consistent in the playoffs. We're not talking about the playoffs, so that would be a fair statement. We're talking about seeding, so
yeah. So that's why I just feel like the Nuggets. I wouldn't be surprised if they do fall down. Like I mean, they are Jokic injury away from like maybe falling into the play-in.
Yeah.
If it's like a month-long injury or something like that, like it could be really scary because then that Christian Braun, DeAndre Jordan, are we expecting them to step up without Jokic?
No.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I think that point is valid, but the probability of that happening is a lot lower than the probability of Kawhi or Paul George missing time, or Harden for
Right.
that matter. So it's
Right.
like you can kind of say the same thing, you know.
Yeah,
Whereas
but it's
Jokic
just
like doesn't really get hurt at all.
yeah, but I just feel like since they got James Harden, like if Kawhi or PG goes down, they're not as bad as they were a year or two ago. Like 2 years ago, when PG went down and Kawhi was out for the entire season, Clippers didn't make the playoffs, and no
Mhm.
one was dogging them for that because they had their number one player out for the entire season, and PG missed 50 some games. So
Right. It was like basically their whole starting lineup, really their whole scoring punch. But I would say, man, I got to be honest with you though. If I'm a Clippers fan, I want, one of the number one things I want from them this regular season is to stay healthy, because I don't think you feel confident if, let's say, Kawhi goes down for a couple months. I don't know if you're as confident to get a higher seed. I think they'd still make the playoffs, but I think it would be, most games would be a dogfight, because then it comes down to, those two guys are going to have off nights. If Harden has an off night or PG has an off night, then you're putting the whole offensive load on the other guy and whatever Westbrook gives you. So yeah, I mean, it's always hard to predict things like that.
yeah, and honestly, to kind of go off of that point, you said if you were a Clippers fan, the one thing that you'd want is for the team to stay healthy. And
Mhm.
I just want them, like, yeah, healthy throughout the regular season would be great, but like healthy in the playoffs. I will feel 100% like fine. I'd feel more okay if we lost fully healthy in the playoffs rather than losing unhealthy again. Like if Kawhi
Yeah,
goes down in the playoffs again, or PG or James Harden's not there, I will feel worse because then it's like you never knew what the potential was. Now it's time to just disband it. Because if we
right.
lose this year and we're fully healthy, I just feel better because it's like, okay, maybe this was the wrong decision to trade Shy and all those picks. And
I mean,
I'm fine kind of like swallowing that pill.
yeah, it's a lot easier to swallow it when you guys are healthy and you at least give them a chance. I do think though that if they get hurt in the playoffs again, or they're a first round exit, I think PG is for sure done in LA. Kawhi, I'm not really sure. I think he may not really care as much, and Harden's going to get extended.
I
So
think Kawhi's just going to go wherever he wants to live. And if that's in
exactly, and I think that's
SoCal,
LA.
then that's in SoCal.
Yeah, unless he wanted to
All he
go
does
to
is go
the
in,
Kings or
clock
something,
in, and leave.
should be kind of crazy.
Right. Trust me, he doesn't want to live in Sacramento. Gage and I have been there.
I don't know, man. He's a fun guy. He's chill, man. Maybe he'll be all right.
Is there any other teams you guys want to talk about, or is that probably good?
That's good. That's good enough for now.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we're good.
All right. So, PT, you gotta make some money, buddy. I'm rooting
No
for
biggie.
you. You're the newbie.
I'll be fine. I haven't lost that much money. I mean, I've lost a good amount, but comparatively to what we started with, I'll be all right. Just
You're gonna
so
have
it's
to organize a mutual fund for you.
nah,
Yeah.
that?
won't be needed. All I need is like a month of positive games, and I'll be good to go.
We'll have just a complete episode of me introducing a portfolio to you, and you just like signing. I'll give it to you over, and we'll screen share your screen, and you'll sign them.
Eventually, I'm just gonna go all in with my stocks. If I keep losing money, I'm just gonna pick 2 or 3 teams and just put all my stocks in those teams.
There you go. It's just the
my
one team that you
strategy.
think is going to win or like have the best like gains in your opinion. It's like you
Yeah.
just go all in on them, and if they don't, well then guess what? It's like you just put your whole savings in there.
If I keep trending the way I'm trending, I'll just switch my strategy. No biggie.
Yeah.
I'll make a portfolio, and then like we'll have a whole contract. I'll get like 5% of your earnings or something.
Alone.
I'm not signing anything to you.
Basically, just get a loan from Geigh.
Yeah.
Nope. Not signing anything with you. I'll go
Then
bankrupt.
we'll have another column. We'll have another column that subtracts your winnings to mine.
I'd rather go bankrupt than give you money.
And for every 2 weeks that he doesn't pay, it goes up like 5% or doubles
Yeah,
in interest.
We'll have
Because of the
we'll
interest.
have a separate podcast to talk about like the interest rates and all that. We're Payton and like,
Yikes! Sounds like
It gets to the point where Peyton has to start like sending you like his belongings, like jerseys and stuff that he has, just because he's that much in debt. It folds into real life.
yeah. Even after the stock market game.
It's a game, guys. It's a game.
Yeah, you play to win the game.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
This slowly just turns into Monopoly.
The man's he's gonna have to take out stocks in an NFL
can we
game or
wrap this
something.
up? Can we wrap this up? I get I'm losing money, but
He's gonna go to the NFL.
All right. But once again, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Momentum MVP. Follow our Facebook page at MVP Momentum Podcast, and check us out on YouTube at MVP Momentum Podcast. I've been Sam Holcroft.
Engage Zollicoffer.
I've been Peyton Thompson.
Thanks for listening.